There's no politics here. I can say that, but we're still in an election year and people are still playing politics, and this is a hyper-partisan environment. To the extent people want to politicize this issue and Republicans are saying, well, New York did this. New York followed the president's agency's guidance. So that depoliticizes it. What New York did was follow what the Republican administration said to do. That's not my attempt to politicize it. It's my attempt to depoliticize it. So don't criticize the state for following the president's policy.
This is very political. And again, this is true in many states across the country. But the disaster of the COVID response when it comes to our nursing homes is not something that anyone can ignore, is not something that anyone can just assume was somehow inevitable. It's horrific. It's really horrific beyond words. And as we look at the decisions that were made, they can now blame the federal government, which of course they are doing, and that's what Cuomo's doing here. But let's remember that the governors have claimed all along that they don't have to, that this is up to them, that they don't have to do what the federal government tells them to about this, that this is under their own police and quarantine powers. So when they want the authority to do what they want, they claim it. And when they want an escape hatch for poor decision making that has had terrible consequences, then they also just make that claim. You may be familiar with the term to decimate. Decimate is to take a tenth of, and there is there's of course to take a tenth of is something that you might think of in the context of tithing, and the word decimatus, taking a tenth of in Latin, medieval Latin. But it was also a punishment that was instituted in Rome. It was a punishment for mutiny, for cowardice. And what they would do is take 1 out of 10 soldiers, and in front of the other soldiers, 1 out of 10 would be usually bastinadoed, beaten to death. Horrible. But the Roman legions were a very intense and brutal place. And we have this word decimation that is used much more freely, right? Put aside decimatus and the punishment of taking 1 out of 10 in a unit in Rome. It wasn't usually the whole legion, but it would have been a smaller military grouping, and they would kill 1 out of 10 people. We often use, to decimate just means to destroy or to hurt really badly, but the usual or the traditional meaning is to take a tenth of. And it has been used throughout history. And I bring this up just because this moment in time is one of those rare instances where the original usage of the term decimate is correct. In New Jersey, the disaster in the nursing homes has been so terrible that almost a tenth of the entire nursing home population has died from COVID-19. It's over 9%. So just if you round it up a bit, you get to a true decimation of the nursing home population in New Jersey. These are people who are our moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas, brothers, sisters, loved ones. These are people who are veterans. These are people who spend decades working in this country, for this country, paying their taxes, obeying the law. I mean, these are people that they all along have been engaged in this social compact with America, as citizens, people who have been doing their part. And now in their golden years, they were entrusted into our care, collectively speaking, meaning the care of these facilities, but also the state regulators and the various officials and people who are involved in making sure that these facilities are safe and that we're doing everything we can to protect our seniors. Remember, the seniors, a lot of them, they're not able to go flee. They're not able to go to some second home somewhere like a lot of people in some of these blue state enclaves did when things got badly. They're stuck in this nursing home. And they entrusted their safety and their security to us as a nation, and it is very clear at this point that we failed them. And I bring this up for many reasons. One is just we should be aware of this death toll, and because you're being told to trust the government now. You're being told the government knows what it's doing, and listen to the experts. How many times did you hear Dr. Fauci stand up in front of America and say, hey, everybody, we got a 5-alarm fire that's about to break out with this virus in our nursing homes. And, we should have, the two priorities for PPE and for all the things that we've got need to be frontline medical workers and anyone involved at a nursing home facility. That's where we should be focused. Did you ever? I cannot remember once hearing with any urgency. We hear all this stuff about, put on a mask or else. Do what we say. Flatten the curve. Social distancing saves lives. Did you hear anyone say, hey, we have to have an all-out effort, especially as this thing was really ramping up and getting toward the peak? We've long since passed the peak. We are through the worst of this virus. And some people they don't want to look wrong and dumb, so they won't admit that. But did you hear any of these experts raising the alarm about this? I watched so many hours of press conferences, so many hours of people that all they're supposed to do is give us the best advice on this. What do they have to share? What do they say about nursing homes? If, in fact, the federal guidance was as stupid as what Cuomo is claiming it was, and then the governors were dumb enough to go along with it instead of objecting to it and doing what was necessary to save them. Remember, they care so much about saving lives. If it saves one life, Cuomo used to always say. What about the 5,000 plus people who died in nursing homes on his watch? I'm not talking about him as a presidential candidate anymore, are we? But if it was as bad as they say it is, let's remember that it's because of the projections that the so-called experts were making, the IHME models out of Washington University, from the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That became the principal set of numbers that we were using here. And what did we learn from that principal set of numbers? We're going to have overwhelmed hospitals. We came nowhere close in 99% of the country to overwhelmed hospitals. And here in New York, quite honestly, it never really got that close either. Right? We were told that it would. But those models, those projections were so wrong. And if you question them, you were a bad person. Maybe if we had been allowed to question the numbers without being shouted down and told, oh, you're not a scientist, you're not a doctor, you don't know. Really? Well, what are the assumptions built into this model? Are these models as fantastic as the, say, climate change models, which are laughable in their inaccuracy, in the scope of what is an acceptable margin of error? Laughable. I mean, no honest person who's not ideologically invested would see them and say anything else. But we couldn't have that conversation. We were told, shut up, peasant, go inside, or else you don't care about people dying. And meanwhile, a lot of people were dying, but they were dying because the models told us the hospitals were going to be overwhelmed. And so in nursing homes, the decision was made, hey, we got to get people out of the hospital and into the nursing home as quickly as possible to free up hospital beds. So you see the shutdown of debate and discussion around this that occurred, let's say, 6-7 weeks ago. The shutdown of free expression around this issue. The shouts, the squeals and screams from the people in the media, you're not an expert. Really? What did the experts do about this? What should have been done about this? I mean, we should have had no one to seed the virus into nursing homes was the single most reckless thing that you could do, because here's the number you need to know. And I give a hat tip to my friend Ovik Roy for pulling this data together. He says COVID-19 nursing home fatalities, the latest data, this was as of Friday, nursing homes and assisted living facilities now represent 42% of all deaths from coronavirus, 52% outside of New York State. And he has a map, and the map is stunning. In New Hampshire, 69% of deaths in nursing homes. In Pennsylvania, 70% of deaths in nursing homes. 70% of overall deaths from the virus in nursing homes. In Minnesota, 81%. In Washington State, 61%. In Oregon, 59%. In Idaho, 56%. Kentucky, 56%. Virginia, 62%. Rhode Island, 77%. Massachusetts, 61%. That's of all fatalities. And remember, that's not including people who are seniors who are at higher risk. This is just people in nursing homes. And where was this focus? Oh, the experts, they know so much. Oh, listen to them. Wash your hands, social distance, put on a mask. Me doing all that stuff was a waste of time. While they were yelling at me and you to do that and shutting down our businesses and telling us to lock indoors, it was policy pushed by experts at the state and perhaps even at the federal level to take people who had symptoms and still were believed to be positive for COVID-19 and put them into nursing homes where they were certain to infect their fellow residents and kill a large number of them. You can't blame the seniors. They're just coming out of the hospital. They're going where they're told they have to go. It was on us. It was on us to defend them, on us to protect them. And in America, we failed on this. We failed. But remember this, the experts, the people that are telling you when you can and can't do this, and the ridiculous guidance that's out there about all this different stuff with the businesses reopening, these people don't know what the heck they're talking about. They've been wrong on everything. And on the single most important vulnerability we had from this virus, and we should have known based on the fatalities in the median fatality from COVID-19 in Italy, that was the big alarm bell for us, was what was going on in northern Italy, was over 80. We knew that. And where did they focus? They focused on emptying the schools of children because, oh gosh, they wanted to shut down schools right away as soon as they could. And they focused on telling younger, healthier, lower risk people, wear a mask or else you're killing people, which was insane. And then large numbers of people were dying in nursing homes. Don't let these lockdown clowns, these maniacs, these imbeciles like Cuomo and de Blasio and Newsom and all these people. Now, look, California, we got to be fair to the numbers. California has not been hit badly by this, but the statism and the overwhelming impulse they have to drag this out even longer, despite the fact that California got pretty lucky here. But these people that are pushing these lockdowns, they didn't do the single most important thing they could have done to keep people alive during this. And they're going to tell you that, oh, we saved so many lives with the lockdown. Show me that data. Show me that data. It's not there yet. I don't think it's ever going to be there. I think the disease had already reached a degree of spread where the lockdowns, you will be able to make a case the lockdowns might have infected and killed even more people who are at high risk.
But what am I doing? I'm fighting the deep state. I'm fighting the swamp. And I said I was doing it, and I'm exposing the swamp. I think if it keeps going the way I'm going, and Ratcliffe is fantastic, if it keeps going the way it's going, I have a chance to break the deep state. It's a vicious group of people. It's very bad for our country. And that's never happened before. You happen to be a victim of the deep state, I hate to tell you, whether you know it or not, but they've treated you horribly over the years. And so have they treated many other people. They never thought I was going to win, and then I won. And then they tried to get me out. That was the insurance policy. She's going to win, but just in case she doesn't win, we have an insurance policy. And now I beat them on the insurance policy. And now they're being exposed.
So the president is right and has been right about the existence of a deep state. Now, that's important. I know right now it feels a bit like, oh, well, don't we all know that? But the answer is no, we don't all know that. We don't all know that there has been this revelation, because there are people who all along have been saying that there was no such thing. And they've been mocking those of us who have brought this up. And now they say that, well, it's not really a deep state. They're trying to redefine it or call it something else, or just avoid all the revelations that we've had, avoid dealing with all the truth that has now come out about what happened at the DOJ, what happened at the FBI. And it's stunning. It should be stunning to anybody to see how much effort was put, how much time was put by the most powerful law enforcement officials in the country into a case that, even before we were looking at it and going over it, and a case that was preposterous. It was just flatly absurd, the whole Russia collusion thing. The fact that the FBI and the DOJ were spending resources and time on this just goes to show you, I mean, are they that lacking, not just in judgment, but in real work to do? Well, as we know, this was all about destroying Trump, and so I guess they felt like this was real work. This is what they felt they should do. In fact, I do believe that Comey and McCabe, they're so sanctimonious and self-righteous and delusional that they would, if given the opportunity, they would. Well, no, they really have been. I don't even think this is supposition on my part. They believe that what they did was patriotic, that undermining the president in the way that they did, attacking really the soft coup effort against the president of the United States that they led, was because they're such good people. And do the journalism folks out there have any sense of remorse for their role in this whole thing? And Trump has been exposing the deep state. Remember, he promised me in the Oval last week, President Trump told me, just wait till what's coming. So I'm expecting big things. Do the journalists feel, oh no, this is what they say. Play 13. This is what they say about Trump.
But Joe, is it really shocking that he did this? This is a cruel, damaged human being who goes out of his way to harm people. And he goes out of his way without seeing these people. He would never utter a single negative response to any of the people that he attacked on Twitter over the weekend if it were eye-to-eye contact. He is afraid of that. He is afraid of the repudiation, but he's afraid of the physicality of it. He's afraid of looking at someone in the eye and saying what he says on Twitter to them. He would never, ever do that.
I mean, this is just absurd. This president stood on stage against Hillary Clinton and was exactly who he always is, mocked her and all the journos supporting her to their faces. I mean, what? But until they apologize for Russiagate, none of these journalists have any credibility, any ethics, any honesty. Just remember that. How are things looking from Pennsylvania? We got our friend Sean Parnell in the house. He is, of course, a former Army Ranger, author of Outlaw Platoon, and perhaps best known these days, thanks to President Trump's big endorsement for him on Twitter, as a congressional candidate in a wonderful district of the great state of Pennsylvania. Mr. Sean Parnell, so good to have you on, my friend. How are you?
It's great to be here, Buck. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And tell me just a bit right now about how you guys are doing in your part of, one thing I like from the guests we have from all around the country. And, we have some fantastic affiliates that listen to this show in Pennsylvania. So I just want people to hear how things are, because, everyone's kind of bubbled into wherever they are in the country right now. How are things in your neck of the woods in Pennsylvania these days? Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pennsylvanians are resilient and Pennsylvanians are strong, but that doesn't mean that people aren't struggling right now. In the state of Pennsylvania, we have 2.2 million people unemployed. We've got the most unemployment claims of any other state in the country. Over 30% of our workforce is unemployed. We've got food lines in my district every single week, thousands of people in food lines. I never thought I'd see that before. Ever in America, let alone in my hometown. So this pandemic has been rough on everybody. And I feel like that's why I, along with Republicans and Democrats, right, in Pennsylvania, are putting all sorts of pressure on the governor to allow us to reopen safely. Because, I mean, people's lives and livelihoods are on the line here, Buck. And I mean, we can't, I mean, the governor just said last week that we can't he can't see us reopening until we have a foolproof vaccine. And that to me is just crazy. And flies in the face of all the scientific data that's coming out about this virus. We don't have a choice. We have to reopen. We got to do it safely. People's lives and livelihoods are on the line here.
And are you supposed to be then at the state level in the zone by zone, or is it mostly top down, just from the Capitol in Pennsylvania for you guys? You know, how is this supposed to work? I mean, the comment that we have to wait till a vaccine is insane, but he's not the only one who said it.
I know. Well, so the governor on his plan is sort of a phased reopening, right? Red being full lockdown, yellow somewhere in the middle, green reopening with, following CDC guidelines. Right now, in and around the Philadelphia area is red. Most of the other areas of the state, other counties in the state are yellow. But my issue with this color-coded plan is that there's really no functional difference between red and yellow. Salons, restaurants, those are all still closed. So it's really the restaurant, hairstylists, salon owners, nail places. Most of these businesses are really, the truth is, at risk of closing forever. And if you look at the science, right, and what some of the UPMC, University of Pittsburgh Medical Center doctors, some of the most world-renowned epidemiologists are in and around the Pittsburgh area, they've all said straight up, Buck, that, the surge that we expected in the wake of COVID-19 didn't happen. And most of these doctors now, who, again, specialize in infectious disease, are saying, we've got to start reopening because the casualties from an economic fallout will be far greater than the casualties in this virus could ever inflict on us. And my worry is that we really, truly are doing a generation or two's worth of economic harm to the state of Pennsylvania. These people, the whole point of a lockdown, as you know, is supposed to be short-lived, right? To make sure to buy our healthcare system some time, give it a level of resiliency, prep for maybe overflow of the virus. But the fact is, a lockdown was never meant to happen in perpetuity. And I think, again, I can't stress this enough. Democrats and Republicans both in the state of Pennsylvania are starting to push back against this. Governor Wolf is facing bipartisan resistance on lockdown in perpetuity. And so, we're fighting every day just to make sure that people in Western Pennsylvania has a voice. At the end of the day, running for Congress isn't about political party. It's about representing the people, right? And that's what we're trying to do.
We're speaking to Sean Parnell, buddy of mine, but also, importantly, decorated combat veteran, New York Times bestselling author, and candidate for the 17th, the mighty 17th Congressional District of Pennsylvania. And we're certainly hoping that that's going to be something we can celebrate with him after the election occurs in November. So, Sean, the president stepped in to his 60-plus million Twitter followers and said, Sean Parnell's the man, vote for Sean Parnell. And I know that now has gotten you even higher up, I'm sure, on your candidate, the opposing candidate, Conor Lamb's radar. Boo. So tell us about some of the aftermath of this and what it's been like to get not just that shout out from the president, but how the left is maneuvering against you now. They must realize you're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I mean, I already knew that, obviously, but now they learned it.
Buck, I got to tell you, I've known you for a long time. You know how I feel about this country, right? And I respect the office of the president, whether a Democrat sits in that office or a Republican. And to have the endorsement of the president or the president focused on you in any way, and in President Trump's case, recognizing, my service and my platoon service in Afghanistan, it's an unbelievable honor to have that endorsement from the commander in chief. Buck, 10 years ago, I carried a rifle in Afghanistan. My platoon got shot up pretty badly. We took an 85% casualty rate. I was wounded myself and was medically retired before my time. I intended to come into the military, lead an infantry platoon, join the special forces, and try out for Delta. That was what I wanted. That was my dream. And it was all cut short because I got blown up in Afghanistan. I was medically retired from the military in 2010. Hey, on behalf of a grateful nation, see you later, with next to nothing. And again, a decade after that, I'm getting shout outs from the president of the United States. If that doesn't tell you how amazing this country is, and that we really, truly are the land of opportunity, and with hard work and perseverance, you can accomplish anything that you want. I mean, it's just, my God, it's just so cool. All that said, I spent most of Memorial Day fending off the far left and the radical left, who did nothing but attack me and do, whether they're calling me a baby killer or a Trump bootlicker, all because I said it's an honor to receive the president's endorsement. That's been tough. But I've always known that politics, hey, it's a contact sport. I've always said that politics is war just without the bullets. And, I've taken real life flack in Afghanistan, and I can take this too.
So, Sean, what do you have to do to win against Conor Lamb? I mean, who? I think it's interesting for folks to hear because, as you said, we've known each other now almost a decade, and just going back here a bit, I'm wondering, we're going to be following your election very closely because you're a friend of the show. What has to happen for you to be in a position to be the next congressman from Pennsylvania 17th? Like, who do you have to win? Who do you have to reach out to?
Yeah, it's a great question. Let me first answer it by giving some context on this district. So Pennsylvania 17 is the biggest swing district in the country. It's in Western Pennsylvania. It's a district that President Trump won in 2016. It's a district that Pat Toomey also won, my Republican senator here in the state of Pennsylvania, also won. So two very different Republicans have both been victorious in this district. And now we have a Democrat in this seat. So what it boils down to is this: if President Trump wins Pennsylvania 17, like he did in 2016, President Trump will win the state of Pennsylvania, and that is the fastest, most expeditious way to get him back into the White House, right? If he wins PA 17, he wins Pennsylvania, President Trump's back in the White House. If I win PA 17, the likelihood of Republicans taking back the House of Representatives is extraordinarily high. And so I've had the vice president a month after I've gotten in this race come to PA 17 and tell me 2020, the battleground for 2020 will be waged, or the war for 2020 will be waged here in PA 17. Ted Cruz also came and spoke at the Allegheny County dinner and said the exact same thing. So in order for me to win this district, my strategy is just to tell the truth. Conor Lamb is the kind of guy. My opponent is the kind of politician that says one thing in district that he thinks everybody will want to hear, that he thinks will earn whatever he says, gets him votes. He says one thing in district and does something very, very different in Washington. His thing is, I'm a moderate, independent person. I'm going to support the president. But the reality is he voted to impeach the president on both accounts. His first ad was carrying an AR-15 and said, I love the Second Amendment. I'm a Marine. I'm always going to protect your Second Amendment rights. Well, guess what, Buck? He has an F rating from the NRA. This is a guy that traveled all around the district and said that he was pro-life. In fact, I still talk to Democrats and Republicans and say, well, Conor Lamb's pro-life. No. He voted against the Born Alive Act twice, right, which is the most radical piece of pro-choice legislation ever. I don't even think that's a debate between pro-life and pro-choice. That's a pro-murder vote, This is a guy that said he was going to oppose Nancy Pelosi. And while Pelosi did give him permission to not vote for her as speaker, since that vote, he's voted with her over 90% of the time, been in lockstep with her ever since. So in order for me to be victorious, I'm just trying to show the people that he said one thing to you, to your face, to win, and does another thing in Washington. He represents the most radical elements of his party. He even votes with people like Ilhan Omar over 90% of the time. You can't say that you're moderate and have a voting record like that. So in order for me to win, I've got to get that message out. And so that means, a lot of people don't understand, Buck. It's like fundraising. You've always heard the cliche, campaigns end when the money runs out. Well, that's because the lifeblood of campaign is money raised and contributed from the great citizens of this country and in the state of Pennsylvania. And right now, we are solely focused on fundraising in Q2. And look, man, we are about to seize the initiative on the political battlefield, if I were speaking in battlefield terms. So we're really optimistic about it.
Sean Parnell, everybody. If you haven't already, go check out Sean. What's your congressional website?
It's seanforcongress.co. That's not a .com. It's .co.
All right, go check out seanforcongress.co, and also all of our folks in Harrisburg, WHP. You know, I know you're not right near his district there, but you guys are in Pennsylvania, so tell your friends, your neighbors, your cousins out there in Sean's territory out in Pittsburgh. Tell them they got to rally for Sean Parnell. And hey, man, I don't know if I buy you a steak or you buy me a steak if you win, but either way, we're going to be celebrating. So let's hope you pull it over the finish line. I know you will. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, you got it, Buck. Thank you.
Got a special treat for all of you. Another fantastic Joe Bidenism. I mean, the Bidenisms keep piling up, as we know, as we knew they would. This is a guy who, he just sort of likes to yell nonsense, but he's been getting away with yelling nonsense for so many decades that people are just like, okay, that's how Joe is, and isn't it so great? No, it's not so great. But we got a good one here from Joe. He is vowing to you that in a contest, in a mano a mano between Biden and Joe Biden's going to win. Play clip 2.
I'm prepared to say that I have a record of over 40 years and that I'm going to beat Joe Biden.
I'm going to beat Joe Biden. Yeah, he is. Hey, look, Biden versus Biden. Biden can't lose. The guy's brilliant when you think about the strategy. Brilliant strategy from Joe Biden. You know, this is the same guy who once stared down Corn Pop, made it clear that Corn Pop wasn't going to interfere with the sun getting on Biden's leg and tearing the hair blonde on his legs because, yeah, man, Biden, that's how he does things. And I used to say, hey, the kids want to touch the hair on my legs. It sounds creepy, but it's not because I'm Joe Biden. It's weird. He also had this, he had dark sunglasses on over the weekend. And of course, wearing his face mask, because now we know this has all become very political. Dark sunglasses on and an all black. And I understand I think he was, at a Memorial Day situations, perhaps he was wearing black for the color of mourning. But I'm just, the optics of it, this photo going around of Biden, where he's got these dark glasses and this totally black face mask covering on. I mean, it looks like he should be chasing Frodo around Middle Earth on horseback in his maniacal search for the one ring to rule them all. It's not a good look. It was not a good look for Biden, but that's not surprising at all. And Trump, I think, Trump's going to have a field day with the whole Biden situation. Is it really going to matter all that much? No, it's going to entertain those of us who already think that Biden's a buffoon, and the notion that he would do such a better job than Trump is rooted in nothing other than the wishes of the left. But I would say that it's gonna be fun for us, those of us who already know this about Biden, what Trump has to say about it. I mean, here's Trump talking about Biden. Play clip 20.
What do you think is Joe Biden's strongest feature as a competitor in politics?
Well, I would have said experience, but he doesn't really have experience because I don't think he remembers what he did yesterday. So how is that experience? He's been there a long time. He was never known as a smart person.
Pick one good thing. Okay, what is his weakest point?
I can't tell you. I mean, I'm really serious. He's got many. I could talk about weak points all day long.
I never like this. Oh, say something nice about your opponent. I don't feel like this is something that journalists need to do, but people do it. But his point about how Biden's experience seems less relevant, considering it's not clear that Biden would even be able to draw upon his experience because he can't remember stuff. He can't remember what he did yesterday. That I think is that might land even beyond Trump voters. That might land with people that are thinking we're really going to put this guy in charge. This is why I think the savvy Democrats recognize that they may need a messaging strategy beyond look at how bad the economy is, look at how many people died from COVID, it's all Trump's fault. They may need something more than that, because if COVID recedes and the economy's on the upswing, why would people that have experienced 3 great years with Trump and are already seeing the change back to those great years, those who, vote on real economic issues, for example, why would they want to trust this Biden buffoon? Oh, because the media says so. That's not going to be good enough.